Everybody. Well, we have a lot to go over today. And first, we have a bill that will strengthen protections for freelance workers. This is an increasingly large part of our economy. This legislation is very important for providing protections for them. Intro 1017C requires a written contract when someone hires a freelancer who does at least $800 of work for them. The sponsor is Councilmember Brad Lander. There are more than 1 million freelance workers in New York City. They're carpenters and they're caterers, they are writers, they are software developers, and many, many other fields are represented. My administration is fighting every day to bring greater fairness to all working people, and particularly to vulnerable workers. This bill will help us hold people accountable who are hiring freelancers if, for example, they try to stiff freelancers out of their hard-earned money. If someone avoids or delays paying a freelancer or violates the agreement in some other way, they may face a civil penalty. We'll send a message that the work that freelancers do is crucial to our city and to our economy, and that they do not work for free. I want to thank Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito for her leadership, and of course our friends at the Freelancers Union who championed this legislation. Now I'd like to introduce our Consumer Affairs Commissioner, Lorelei Salas.
Thank you, Mayor de Blasio. And thank you to Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito, Chairman Espinal, and of course the tireless council member, Brad Lander, who fought so hard to make the Freelance Isn't Free Act a reality. And thank you to Sarah Horowitz and the Freelancers Union, whose efforts to raise awareness about the immense challenges freelancers face have gotten us to where we are today. Freelancers are a vital and growing part of today's workforce. Our economy grows and thrives on the back of their work. Because they are not considered traditional employees and are generally paid per gig, they unfortunately do not have access to the many protections that govern the relationship between employers and employees. This means that when they are not paid on time or in full, they fall behind on their rent, fall into debt, and have a hard time taking care of themselves and their families. DCA's new mission is to protect and enhance the daily economic lives of New Yorkers, to create thriving communities. And protecting freelancers is an important part of the work that we do. DCA's Office of Labor Policy and Standards, under the leadership of Deputy Commissioner Liz Vladek, will be responsible for implementing this law. The kinds of issues that freelancers face are exactly those that this office was created to address. We will be developing tools and providing resources to both freelancers and the people who hire them to help them understand their rights and responsibilities. This law will give the City of New York an opportunity to examine the trends in our gig economy and to promote policies that will benefit our evolving workforce. We are proud to have worked very closely with the City Council on the final version of this bill. Thank you again to the Mayor, to the Speaker, Councilmember Lander, and Espinal. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now the bill's prime sponsor, Councilmember Brad Lander.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioner Salas, for working with us so closely on this at a time when we are going to be working hard to protect and defend rights of people who are vulnerable in New York City. It is wonderful to be extending rights and protections for people in New York City. And it's worth remembering that freelancers who deserve to be paid on time and in full are also in the category of people that the president-elect has demonstrated that he doesn't care about the rights and dignities of. So it is wonderful today that New York City will become the first jurisdiction anywhere in the United States to protect freelancers and independent contractors from getting stiffed. This is first of its kind legislation in the country. More than 70% of freelancers report having been victims of non-payment or late payment for an average of $6,000 a year. And that's people like Elizabeth McKenzie, a freelance film producer who lived on bread and rolls and couldn't pay her utility bills and was in the dark when she was stiffed for $2,500. Or like Mauricio Niebla, part of a group of 40 writers and editors working for a national publishing company, Harcourt, Houghton, Mifflin, who together were cheated out of $400,000. Just Ramona, a pattern maker from the Bronx, who paid the people she owed because she knows what's right, but couldn't couldn't pay her rent or her phone bill. I could go on and on and on. We heard stories from so many people whose wages were stolen from them, and it had consequences for them in their lives. And unlike W-2 workers who don't have perfect protections from wage theft, but at least have some, up until today, freelancers and independent contractors have really had none. We worked very hard together with the administration. I really want to thank the commissioner and also Liz Vladeck, director of the new Office of Labor Policy and Standards, to craft a bill. 1017C means it went through 3 revisions. This is its 4th edition, and that's because when you're doing something the first time, you really want to be thoughtful about getting it right. I won't go into the details of the bill, but I do want to thank the folks who helped make that happen. Chair Espinal was a real tireless champion and supporter. The staff of the Legislative Division, Labani Rahman, Wesley Jones, Rachel Cordero, Annie Decker, and Matt Gewalb, went through 2 aging nights, almost till midnight, 4 versions, and some extremely thoughtful lawyering. The Freelancers Union, who were tireless in their advocacy and identifying a problem that so many people had suffered individually or in silence, and they turned it into something that was clearly a civil rights issue for a very large group of New Yorkers and others around the country. And finally, I want to thank my policy director, Annie Levers, who stuck with this bill through all of that as well and helped craft it into what it is. So we're very excited about the bill and that it's about to become law.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Now I want to introduce the Chair of the Consumer Affairs Committee, Councilman Rafael Espinal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to thank the Commissioner and Brad Lander for all the work they've done to put this bill together. This is a bill that we were able to pass within a year. I thought it was important for us to streamline that through my committee. I see this as another tool against the fight of income inequality. There's a lot of people who are being stiffed thousands of dollars every year because people believe that freelancing is free, but it's not, right? So we have to make sure that they have the tools they need to get paid. And when you think about the amount of dollars that they get stiffed, I think many of us receive less in our tax returns than what people are being ripped off on a yearly basis from those contractors. So it's important that we get this bill signed today. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, for all the work you're doing to get this passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is now time to sign the bill.
Stand up.
Did we come stand behind?
You may.
All right.
We are innovating, but you still have to stand behind it.
talk. But no, exactly. We want to be there when the bill is signed. Sure. Yeah. All right. We have some freelancers here and some bill drafters.
We can do it. I follow your instructions. You can't do it at least. All right, I'm gonna go slow and steady, and you're gonna update your numbers. Here we go. There we go. Congratulations to you. Well done. Mr. Chair, well done. Commissioner. Is Liz back there too?
Yes, she's right behind you.
Liz, no look pass here. There you go. Okay. I'm going to have you pass them around.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Go. I'll keep passing as needed.
Unanimous as well.
We like that. It's time for everything.
I think we're good, right?
This is,
Anyone has one? Hang on, at least one. No, hang on, at least one more. We need 2 more. Oh, we need one for Sarah.
yeah.
Yeah, here, let's maybe we'll get
Okay, so definitely for Sarah.
2 more.
2 more. There's 1. Give Sarah my compliments.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this is the last one, right? This bill is now law. I'm looking at you. Okay. All right, well done. No. Okay.
You on that side or this side? Space here. It's up to you. Don't mind. I mean, big, so. Yeah.
Okay, here we go, everyone. Okay. Our next two bills. All right, let's move these folks a little bit more so we don't block the camera. All right. Speedy drill there. Everyone ready? Okay. Our next two bills provide greater assistance to eligible voters. Intro 464A requires Department of Corrections to continue its program that helps pre-trial detainees and those serving misdemeanor sentences apply for and complete absentee ballots. Sponsor is Councilmember Reuben Wills. Voting, of course, is a bedrock of our democracy, and we must make sure that every person who can vote does vote. And that's why this piece of legislation is so important.
Speak overhead.
Intro 796A requires city agencies that participate in the agency-based voter registration program to assist applicants with the organ donation section of the form as well. The sponsor is Councilmember Costa Constantinides. Since 2009, the New York State voter registration form has included an option for people to enroll as organ and tissue donors, but still too many New Yorkers die while waiting for an organ transplant. This bill would help ensure that anyone in our city who wants to be an organ donor gets the assistance they need to become one. I want to thank Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito for all of her support. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Councilmember Reuben Wills, the sponsor of Intro 464A.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to yield my time to the co-sponsors, Councilmember Inez Barron and Councilmember Cornegie, if that's okay.
That is unprecedented, and we welcome it.
Councilmember Barron.
Just the notion of anyone yielding time is a wonderful thing. Councilmember Inez Barron, we welcome you.
Thank you. I want to thank my colleagues who are here and all of you who are here to witness this event. Councilmember Inez Barron, representing the 42nd Councilmanic District. Although Introduction 464 does not represent a cure-all for the disenfranchisement of those who are being detained, it is a significant step towards achieving greater equality for those who are too poor to arrange bail, so that they will actually be able to cast their ballot even though they're not at their ballot, at their ED election site. We know that there's always a problem when people go to the wrong election district and that vote does not count. But this counteracts that and in fact allows for those detainees who are already eligible to vote to be able to cast their vote even though they're being detained. I'd like to thank the Council's Government Operations Committee Chair, Ben Kalos, and the de Blasio administration for supporting this legislation. And we've got to continue to work so that we can even look at ending the disenfranchisement for those who are actually incarcerated beyond just those who are detained. Thank you so much. We know that there's a large, significant population of detainees that represent so-called minority groups. 54.6% are Black, 34% are Hispanic, 7% are white, 1.5% Asian, 93% are male, and 6.4% are male. So we're talking about a large population that is predominantly those communities of color, and they are entitled to express their vote, and we're glad to be here. We want to commend the sponsor for bringing this forward and for getting it passed in the body and bringing it now to the mayor for a vote, for his signature.
Thank you very much. And who were you yielding to as well?
Councilmember Cornegie.
Councilmember Cornegie, please.
I'll be brief. I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the bill's sponsor. And I just wanted to encapsulate all that was said earlier and just say that people in jail, detained while awaiting trial or convicted of a misdemeanor or non-disenfranchising felony crime have the right to vote. In 1974, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled pretrial detainees and people incarcerated on misdemeanors have the right to vote via absentee ballot. Unfortunately, most detainees often do not realize they have the right to vote via these means. So as we see, we'd like to have everyone's vote counted at all times, and this decreases the amount of disenfranchisement in communities of color especially. So I want to thank you for this. This is one of those days I'm really proud to be a council member.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I would now like to introduce Councilmember Costa Constantinides, the sponsor of Intro 796A.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your strong support. There are over 9,000 people in the New York City metropolitan area and nearly 120,000 total in the United States waiting for a heart, lung, or kidney, a pancreas. In New York State, every 18 hours, someone dies waiting for a life-saving organ transplant. Tens of thousands of people are forced to spend years of their lives wondering if today will be the day that they will get the phone call that will save their life, or whether today they will be one of the 18 that lose their life in this crisis. This is despite the creation of the New York State Donor Registry in 2006, the mayor talked about before. We have consistently had one of the lowest organ donation rates in the country. According to Live On New York, formerly New York Organ Donor Network, we're at the bottom, 50 out of 50 on the national list. We need all hands on deck to tackle this crisis, and that's why Intro 796 is so important. It builds on previous legislation, Local Law 63 of 2014 by my friend and colleague Ben Kalos, that explicitly requiring agencies to assist New Yorkers by filling out organ donation applications upon request. At any point that a member of the public interacts with one of the over a dozen city agencies, they'll be directed to the organ donor form that comes with the voter registration card. Agencies will then be responsible for returning the form to the Board of Elections and the State Health Department. Surveys show that over 92% of the public supports organ donation, but only 24% of New Yorkers are actually registered as donors. It needs to do better. I know from experience, 16 years ago, prior to me knowing her, my wife went into severe renal failure and was dying, and she was on the list for both a donor for a kidney and a pancreas. She thankfully received in 1999 from her mom, and then in 2000, a pancreas from a victim of a car accident who graciously had signed up to be an organ donor. Later, she'd tell me about the agonizing fear that gripped her to find out whether today would be that day that she'd get that phone call that saved her life, or that would be the day that she passed. And luckily, many years later, because of someone making that step, I have a wonderful family and a beautiful 7-year-old son as well, and his wife I love, and I'm very grateful for that. That's what this bill is all about. Just one organ can save up to 8 lives and save or heal up to 100 more through tissue donation. It's not often we get the opportunity to save literally dozens of lives, but by taking out the time to fill out that form, you can. I want to thank my friends at Live On New York and Helen Irving and everyone else who are here today from their great advocacy and life-saving work every single day. I want to thank our mayor for his partnership. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our speaker, Melissa Murphy-Rito, Government Operations Chair, Ben Kalos, Staff Attorney Brad Reed, my council colleagues, and my Legislative Director, Nick Wazowski. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Thank you for sharing that powerful story, and please tell your wife how happy we are she is with us, and that story is going to help inspire other people to act. Thank you very much. Now the chair of the Committee on Governmental Operations, Councilmember Ben Kalos.
Thank you, Mayor de Blasio, for your leadership, for signing these bills, but for being a leader on expanding the franchise, for in the wake of our election and even leading up to it, for noshing the vote, for getting out there and just doing everything you can to register folks, and for being a voice and a champion for early voting, for vote by mail, for everything we can do to make it easier for folks to vote. I want to thank Councilmember Costa Constantinides for his leadership on his legislation that makes it easier for folks to register to become organ donors. So many people are trying to fill out forms. Forms can be complex, but by expanding the law and having support from City Hall and from the mayor so that our city employees can help people make that decision, help check off that box and make the choice to save a life. And now that's going to be a reality. And thank you to Costa Constantinides, and thank you also to Councilmember Ruben Wills for his leadership on making sure that we are following the state law that allows for folks to vote while in jail, because in this nation we are we are innocent until proven guilty. And
Freudian slip.
I got it right in the end.
Exactly.
But so we're innocent until proven guilty, and we do have that right to vote while we're awaiting trial. And we're doing everything we can in the city to reduce the number of the people who are doing that. But we've got great leaders in the council, and it's my pleasure as a Governmental Operations Committee Chair to work with them. And Mayor, we have our work cut out for us on getting much more done.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just take a moment to thank you for your kind comments, but much more importantly to say to everyone, and I feel the passion that everyone feels here about empowering voters and restoring our democracy. We have to all coalesce and go to Albany and get changes in our state law so that we have things like early voting, so that we have same-day registration, a host of reforms that this state has not made it many other states have. And we have major improvements we have to make in our Board of Elections so that people actually can vote in a timely manner. So a lot of work to do together, and this election certainly has put a point on that. And I look forward to working with all of you on that. Before we turn to signing the bills, we have two folks who have signed up for public testimony. Helen Irvin of Live On, New York, and Tina Marie, I think it's Salmon, I hope I'm saying it right, of Transplant Recipients International.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of the almost 10,000 New Yorkers who are waiting for a life-saving organ transplant, I thank you for moving this legislation forward. I thank you also, Costa, for being such a good friend, and I think your story just tells the reason why we're here. I'd also like to thank the council members and Councilmember Kellis and Johnson, too. My name is Helen Irvin. I'm the president and CEO of Live On New York, the federally designated organ procurement organization in New York City. We are responsible not only for increasing the awareness for the need for organ, eye, and tissue donation, but to work with our healthcare colleagues ensuring that every family, every day, every time is presented with the option of organ, eye, and tissue donation at the appropriate time. Together, with your help, we have the ability to eliminate death on our transplant wait lists by giving New Yorkers other opportunities to sign up on the New York State Donate Life Registry. Why is this legislation so important? While the DMV is successful at providing the opportunity to sign up, this opportunity only occurs once every 8 years. We simply need more access points to ask New Yorkers to act and sign up. We have learned from the outstanding partnership with our Board of Elections that asking the public to consider signing on the registry when they register to vote is highly successful. In fact, 227,000 individuals signed on the registry last year. You should also know that New York is the only state where this occurs. In a city that is important as an entry point for new citizens, for work, and for university students, this portal has become very important to more people as we call New York our home. It now represents 11% of all new registrations. The New York City ID, Mr. Mayor, you should know, is an incredibly successful portal. 126,000 people signed up last year. That represents 18% of our registrations. So I would like to just add, finally, we would be delighted to help with any assistance that you need for teaching and training so that you can speak to the public about organ donation. And I would like to thank you for helping New Yorkers in making access to a Donate Life registry easier. I thank you for helping New Yorkers to save more lives. I thank you for understanding the comfort gained by families who support organ donation. And I thank you for allowing us to have the opportunity to leave our own legacy. Mr. Mayor, the future of 10,000 New Yorkers is very much in your hands and in this room today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor de Blasio, for your time today. My name is Tina, and I am a current board member and former president of the Transplant Recipients International Organization's Manhattan chapter. We have a serious problem getting New Yorkers to register to be organ, eye, and tissue donors. Because our great state has one of the highest needs in the nation for available organs, every effort must be made to increase our registry and save more lives. Part of the complex challenge in gaining more registered donors is a lack of public education about the transplant process. Providing assistance to those considering donation when they register to vote can only educate the public on the importance of donation, but also dispel the many myths that cause so many to fear the process and ultimately decide against it. The TRIO Manhattan chapter is confident that this amendment is an important step toward the ultimate goal of saving every precious life in need of the gift of life. I'd like to thank the mayor for supporting this amendment and allowing me to speak with you today. I would also like to thank Councilmember Costa Constantinidis and Councilmember Corey Johnson for their dedication and commitment to our cause. It's hopeful and motivating to know that our voices are being heard and that we have partners like them in our government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, let's sign these bills. Mr. Wills, step forward. Everyone gather around, but you're going to be the first one.
Let's wait after this. I think we're the next one up. I think. Yeah. Oh, up now?
Right there.
Yeah, we're good. Oh, I think he said Wills.
Both, but you can stand there, too.
Okay, yes, sir.
You can multitask.
I don't know what the rules are.
You stand there, he stands here. We'll do him first. 14? Okay, here we go.
And I think actually Councilmember Wills wanted some.
Yes.
I'll start slow while you work out the number. First of all, the first one.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Well done. This is on the first bill? First bill, 18. Okay.
No,
Great.
on the first bill, we could do.
Congratulations.
Let's do 10 on the first bill.
Do you notice how the story keeps changing? Thank you. Okay. I'll give you some to distribute here. Okay, now, where are you at now? No, I'm saying you're still holding it?
On
10, okay. We can do that. Wait, I get you one, I got him, I got him. There you go. Congratulations. Okay. Okay, this one, as you wish, okay.
The Deputy Commissioner for the FDMY is here as well.
Great, and now for Costa?
8.
8? 8. You need more, is that good?
We might need more.
Whatever you need.
I think there's 10 people here, so.
We're here to please. We can do as many as you need. 10? Okay. No, he's good.
I'm great.
You're welcome. Okay. Going to-
Thank you, sir.
Okay, wait, how many left?
Maybe one we need.
2 more?
2 more.
No worries?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, this last one, we're good? All right. These bills are now law.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Looking good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hey, Donald. How you doing, man? Heard that you're working as a correctional
Perfect, right?
Mr. Mayor, how are you doing?
How was your meeting earlier?
Fascinating, strange.
Did you pray before you went to that? You should pray before and after.
I think CPR now.
Everybody ready? Okay. Don't talk during class, Donovan. That's right, that's right. I accept that blame. Okay. Next, we have a bill that will shed light on the NYPD's preparedness to render life-saving medical aid. CPR saves lives, I always hate this word, defibrillators save lives, and members of the NYPD, of course, save lives. Intro 83A requires NYPD to report annually on how many patrol, transit, and PSA officers and school safety agents are trained and retrained in CPR and the use of defibrillators. Currently, all NYPD recruits receive CPR and defibrillator training while at the police academy. This bill will allow New Yorkers to know how many of our officers and school safety agents are up to date in their training. I want to thank Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito, NYPD Commissioner Jimmy O'Neill, Councilmember Vanessa Gibson, the Chair of the Public Safety Committee. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the bill's lead sponsor, Councilmember Steve Levin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I introduce this legislation before us today in honor of the memory of one of my constituents, Brianna Amaryllis Ojeda, who passed away in 2010 after suffering an asthma attack. The police officer who had stopped Brianna and her mother on the way to the hospital did not perform potentially life-saving CPR because, by his own admission, he said he did not feel qualified to do so. This September, Brianna would have celebrated her 18th birthday. New York's first responders must have the highest quality life-saving certifications. My legislation will increase transparency about training by requiring the NYPD to publish an annual report on the number of police officers and school safety agents receiving CPR and AED certification. I applaud the NYPD for instituting a new basic life support curriculum for first responders this January that includes training in adult and infant CPR and AED use. This legislation will ensure that first responders will receive consistent and ongoing training. I want to thank you very much for your support of this measure, Mayor de Blasio, and I want to thank Commissioner O'Neill. I would also like to offer my gratitude to Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito, Public Safety Chair Vanessa Gibson, for helping me move this bill forward, as well as our fantastic legislative staff, Deepa Ambekar and Beth Golub, and my Legislative Director, Julie Barrow, Communications Director, Ed Paulino, and Chief of Staff, Jonathan Boucher. I want to thank the American Heart Association, the American Red Cross, AHA parent advocate Melinda Murray, who lost her son, Dominic Murray, passed away at the age of 17 from a heart attack. Most importantly, I want to thank Brianna's family, who is here and who have become friends of mine, Michael Ojeda, Carmen Torres, and Michael Ojeda Jr., as well as your entire family. Since 2010, the Ojeda family has advocated tirelessly in honor of Brianna at the city and state level to ensure that no other parent will have to suffer a similar preventable tragedy, and it has been my great honor to work with them. In closing, I want to stress that it is time for the state legislature to pass and the governor to sign a related state bill named in the honor of Brianna, which would require all police officers throughout the state to be trained in CPR every 2 years and demonstrate a satisfactory completion of such training. And I just want to say also that today we had at the council a commemoration for 2 police officers a couple months ago that did in fact know CPR and saved the life of a little girl who was in distress. Those 2 police officers changed the course of history for that family. They changed the course of their history, and they took what could have been a tragedy
and made it a day of joy and happiness. And if we can equip our police officers to do that for anybody else, that would be a fitting legacy for Brianna Ojeda. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilmember. Now I'd like us to hear from the Chair of the Public Safety Committee, Councilmember Vanessa Gibson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and good afternoon to all of you. It's a great honor to be here, and I want to recognize our Speaker, Melissa Mark Viverito, and certainly the tireless efforts of Councilmember Steve Levin. When he came to me about this bill and talked to me about Brianna's story, and I met her parents and her aunt and uncle, and my heart was just so broken because I wanted to do everything possible to help them to make sure that their pain would go away. And while we certainly cannot bring Brianna back, but certainly through codifying this in local law, we can make sure that every NYPD officer, every school safety agent, every member of service is equipped with CPR and AED training. As Councilmember Levin mentioned earlier today, we had 2 PSA 7 officers from the Bronx that we recognized because last month in October, they were on patrol and a mother came to them speaking in Spanish and her child was not breathing. And they had never administered CPR, although they were trained in it. They both have 4 years on the job, and it was the first time they administered CPR, and they did it successfully. And that 1-year-old baby is doing well. And those are the exact types of stories we want to share so much across this city. And so it's heartwarming to know that there's so much support for this legislation because we just want to make sure that we're doing everything possible to save even one life, then we're doing our job. And as Chair of Public Safety, I've said to Brianna's parents, I will do everything possible to make sure that this bill is codified, which it will be, but also as a former member of the State Assembly in Albany in making sure that we pass Brianna's law to make sure that everyone is equipped in training in AED and CPR. So thank you to her family for never giving up. Your child's death will never be in vain. You will continue to be strong advocates for so many children and New Yorkers throughout the city. So thank you for your strength, thank you for your courage, and thank you, Councilmember Levin, for taking on this major issue and making sure that we see it to fruition. I'm very proud of the work we're doing as a city council, as an administration, and this is really about saving lives. Our police officers put their lives on the line every single day. All we want is for them to be trained sufficiently and adequately in CPR and AED training. And it's very simple. There's so many efforts undertaken where you can learn CPR for free at no cost, and we want to make sure that we're expanding on that. So thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, for your leadership, for always being a champion for every New Yorker and making sure that we protect the lives of everyone in this great city.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And now we have public testimony from Michael Ojeda on behalf of his family.
Thank you, City Council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And especially thank you, Mr. Stephen Levin. Hopefully this will give it momentum up in Albany to go statewide and then hopefully go nationwide. But unfortunately, my 11-year-old daughter, Brianna, had to show the flaw in the system. But we're righting this wrong. So with the help of God, we'll be safer. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. And this is certainly a tribute to your daughter, and more lives will be saved in her name. So thank you so much, both of you, for all the work you've done. Let's give them a round of applause. Okay, it's time to sign the bill. Come on up. Wait, I need Steve right here. Come on, you're violating the tradition. Let's try this again. Okay. Congratulations. Yeah. Confused me there. Do you see that, Donovan?
The table. Don't everybody.
Last one, or you need one more? One or two more? Well done. Congratulations, everyone. This bill is law. Okay.
Is this mine or am I here? Am I here?
Okay. Next.
Yeah, okay.
Ready, everyone? Okay. Next, we have a package of legislation that adds greater transparency to our foster care system and aims to better serve our children in foster care. Intro 1192A creates a task force to recommend how we can improve the lives of young people who are in foster care and moving out of foster care. Sponsor is Councilmember Steve Levin. This task force will be comprised of a diverse set of voices, including several city agencies, the City Council and the Public Advocate, foster care providers and advocacy organizations, youth in foster care and youth who have aged out of foster care, and parents who have spent time in the child welfare system. Intro 1191A requires ACS to submit a 5-year plan to address barriers to youth leaving foster care. The sponsor again, Councilmember Steve Levin. Intro 1199A requires ACS to provide all youth ages 13 and up in foster care with an annual survey about their experiences. Sponsor is Councilmember Donovan Richards. This survey will include questions about food and clothing, relationships with their foster family, personal allowances, and more. Intro 1190A requires ACS to report annually on the percent of children who stay in their school upon entering foster care and the average attendance rate of children in foster care. Sponsor is Councilmember Steve Levin. Intros 1197A, 1205A, and 1187A make technical changes to local laws 46, 48, and 49 of 2014. Sponsors are Public Advocate Letitia James, Councilmember Lori Cumbo, and Councilmember Danny Drum, respectively. These 2014 laws require ACS to report on the experience and outcomes of foster care youth, their graduation rates, and how many possess a government ID. ACS and its providers have some of the toughest jobs there are in public service, but every day they work to protect the safety and well-being of our most vulnerable children. This package of legislation will help us improve the lives of those children. I want to thank Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito and our ACS Commissioner Gladys Carrion. Now I'd like to introduce Public Advocate Letitia James, the sponsor of Intro 1197A.
Oh, how appropriate. Hello, baby. Hello, Mayor.
Hello.
I want to thank the Mayor, the Speaker, and the Committee Chair, Councilmember Levin, and all of my colleagues in government, and all of you here today, and their staffs for working with me to make this bill a reality. I want to also give a special shout out to my Legislative Director, Jason Furman, my General Counsel, Jennifer Levy, and my former Legislative Director, Jared Hova. I also would like to thank all of the advocates, the parents, and the children who have worked so hard on these issues and given us a better understanding of what it's needed to fix a broken system. For far too long, too many of our most vulnerable children have gotten lost in a system that is meant to protect them. There are 9,000 children and youth in foster care in our city, many who are struggling every day against abuse or malnourishment, against the tallest of odds, just to make it. And each year, nearly 1,000 young people age out of foster care. only to enter back into the city services because they weren't given the tools to succeed. In 2014, I introduced 104 to better understand the state of our youth who age out of foster care. That bill became law in September 2014, and pursuant to that law, ACS is required to submit an annual report on youth in foster care that includes categories that reflect on where our youth go after they age out of the system and what training and support they receive prior to doing so. The bill will be signed into law today. The bill that will be signed into law today will expand and improve the reporting mechanisms of ACS's annual report and better compare the improvements being made by the agency to protect and serve the youth in foster care. And youth aging out of the system. Amendments to Local Law 46 will break down the age groups in better detail and in uniformity when reporting these categories. The new law will also expand reporting on the number of youth over 21 who have aged out of care and who enter our shelter or receive financial assistance such as SNAP benefits. These revisions were motivated by the advocacy community, all of you in this room, who regularly review these numbers to identify trends and patterns. My bill complements and reinforces other legislation, including bills championed by my colleagues and friends, Councilmember Cumbo and Drum. We cannot afford to lose these kids, these children, these young adults, not to the cycle of poverty, not to our streets, and certainly not to a premature end. I thank all of you, but most importantly, I thank all of the young people who are in foster care and who are aging out of foster care to let them know that we're on their side. You truly are my heroes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Public Advocate. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Councilmember Steve Levin, Chair of the General Welfare Committee and sponsor of 3 pieces of legislation today.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Today, we are poised to enact a legislative package that will improve the foster care system for nearly 10,000 children and youth. The legislation would establish strategic feedback systems, implement evidence-based permanency planning, and expand reporting on health, education, and housing stability outcomes. Thank you, Mayor de Blasio and Commissioner Carrion, for your support of these important measures. I also want to thank Deputy Commissioners Julie Farber, Jacqueline McKnight, and former Deputy Commissioner Benita Miller. I'm also proud to have sponsored this package of bills with several of my colleagues who are all here, and I want to thank my colleagues for their collaboration on this legislation, especially the legislation that will require ACS to require 3 consecutive 5-year plans to address systemic barriers to placing children and youth with a permanent family. 1 year ago, the Council hosted a foster care shadow day. Council members were paired with a young person in foster care or who had recently aged out of the system. That experience left a lasting impression. The insight the youth shared helped shape some of the legislation we are voting on today and led to increased dialogue at the Council about how we can better serve young people who spend time in foster care each year. Through increased public information and transparency, the purpose of this legislation is to improve the outcomes for youth who are in foster care, especially those who are aging out of the foster care system and those who have been in care the longest. The reality is that youth who have been in care for large stretches of their youth face challenges that many of us cannot truly understand. We have to do everything we can as a city to support these young people and equip them with the resources they need to succeed. I want to sincerely thank the young people who shared their stories with us. Your input has been and will continue to be critical to improving the foster care system today and for generations to come. I want to name them. Those that are here today: Donald Fields, who helped organize the Foster Youth Shadow Day; Yari Bentoncourt; Destiny Brown-Lee; Brianna Hayes; Richard Lefebvre; Ivan Mendez, who's my intern; Rachel Moser; Yolanda Perry; Angelica Ramalakan; Kathy Rondo; Ana Sanchez, who's also my intern, and Rosie Williams. And if there's anybody that I missed, raise your hand. Tiana, thank you. I want to thank all of you for keeping the pressure on us, the legislators, to make sure that this legislation becomes a reality, and we're counting on you to hold us accountable and advocate for further legislation as well. The many providers and advocates who generously contributed their time and expertise to ensure the strength of these bills. In particular, I want to thank Stephanie Gendel from Citizens Committee for Children, Robert Horowitz and Catherine Redlick and Sarah Childs from the Redlick Horowitz Foundation, Susan Grunberg from You Gotta Believe, Jessica Maxwell of the Children's Aid Society, and all the advocates who are here and those that are providers as well. I look forward to continued collaboration with all of you. And finally, I'd like to thank the Speaker for her stalwart leadership on this issue, and I'm deeply grateful to our council staff for their extensive work on this legislation. Andrea Vasquez, counsel to the committee, Tanya Cyrus, our legislative analyst, and Brittany Morrissey, our finance analyst, as well as my staff, Julie Barrow, Ed Paulino, and Jonathan Boucher. This is a victory for thousands of New York City children and youth, and I look forward to working with all of you to identify ways to continue to improve the foster care system. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the sponsor of Intro 1199A, Councilmember Donovan Richards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm proud to stand, or should I say sit today, with Mayor de Blasio and my colleagues to support our youth in foster care, who often feel forgotten about. This package of bills being signed into law today is a reminder that the City of New York cares and that we promise to work tirelessly to ensure that every child has someone caring for them the way they deserve to be. Last year, after I participated in the Foster Shadow program, it became clear that we need to do more as a city to protect and improve the lives of our foster children. And I want to shout out my mentee, Tiana Marley, who inspired me. She's 16 years old and already in her first semester of college. Wow. So you have a much brighter future than me, because at 16, I was just starting to pass my classes. This experience inspired my office to work on Intro 1199A, which affords all youth in foster care ages 13 and older the opportunity to fill out an anonymous survey about their experience with their foster parents. This survey will help us make sure that our children in foster care have a voice in the system. This bill will ensure that ACS submits a plan for implementation of this survey within 4 months of enactment, and the first survey must be offered within a year. Then they must submit a semi-annual report of the findings to the council and post the data on its website. ACS must also list any steps they have taken in response to the data that they accumulate. And I do want to be clear that it is sad that we have to do this, because all of our children deserve to be treated with respect and dignity, no matter what household they're in. It is truly heartbreaking, and it was truly heartbreaking to hear the stories of foster youth being denied the simple things that most children take for granted, such as having access to food and clothing, permission to practice their religion, internet and phone access, and personal allowances. I'd like to thank Mayor de Blasio, Speaker Melissa Mark-Viverito, Chair Levin, Eugene, Andrew Vasquez in our legislative division, my Director of Legislation, Jordan Gibbons, and also Camille Barrett, and ACS, and all the advocates for all of their hard work in crafting and working with us to ensure that this legislation can improve the lives of our foster children. Thank you, Tiana, for having an impact on my life.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Now I'll introduce Councilmember Danny Drum, sponsor of Intro 1187A.
Thank you very much, Mayor de Blasio and Public Advocate James, Speaker Melissa Mark-Viverito, General Welfare Committee Chair Steve Levin, and sponsors of the other bills for this effort aimed at improving the lives of youth who are experiencing or have experienced foster care. Thank you also to my legal counsel, Sebastian McGuire, for his work on this legislation. This administration and I have worked closely to remove any barriers to New Yorkers obtaining identification. As a result, our city now boasts a municipal identification program that has become the model for the rest of the country. HRA, the administrating agency, listened to the voices of the youth, their advocates, and my office, and as a result, the ID NYC rules have provisions that facilitate the issuance of cards to foster youth aged 14 and over. There is no excuse for these youth to not obtain one or preferably more forms of government-issued identification. In 2014, the council passed and the mayor signed into law what would become Local Law 48. Our intention was to have a clear picture of ACS's efforts to help these youth obtain ID. The law requires reporting on the number of youth in foster care age 17 or older who have obtained identification. However, the law does not require reporting on the overall number of youth in foster care age 17 or older. Intro 1187A will give the data context by adding this number to the reports. It will also require reports to include the number of youth who have only one form of identification. Finally, to facilitate the analysis of the data across time, it requires that the reports remain on ACS's website permanently. Thank you, and let's continue to work to improve outcomes for these foster youth.
Thank you very much, Councilmember. And now I would like to introduce Councilmember Lori Cumbo, the sponsor of Intro 1205A.
Thank you. I would like to first start off by thanking Mayor de Blasio, Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito, Councilmember Levin, and also the co-sponsors, advocates, and those who worked on drafting this bill to keep our scholars on pace towards a brighter future. More than 9,000 children and youth are under the care of the New York City Administration for Children's Services, awaiting family reunification or permanent placement. Within a few months or years, many of our youth undergo a lifetime of traumatic experiences, such as abuse or neglect, which can result in truancy, among other behavioral changes. In order to keep our scholars on pace towards a brighter future, we must provide the proper resources to support their continued growth and development within and beyond the foster care system. Intro 1205 will enable us to better assess the academic progression of high school-aged youth in foster care by requiring a report from ACS on their graduation rates. Each report will disaggregate by age, gender, ethnicity, age upon graduation, type of diploma, certification received, and number of years it took to complete high school. Last year, 70.5% of students in New York City who entered high school in 2011 graduated in 4 years. 9% of students dropped out. The educational advancement of our youth requires an in-depth look into the daily challenges faced by our next generation of leaders, thinkers, influencers, entrepreneurs, and young professionals. We need to know how to cultivate their natural ability to learn and to strive for excellence. It is our responsibility to end the stigma that is typically associated with the foster care system and reinforce that every youth, irrespective of their socioeconomic status or background, deserves an equal opportunity to succeed as scholars and professionals. And I want to thank Councilmember Steve Levin for sponsoring the Shadowing Day, where so many young people, so many advocates of our foster care system came and gave us and the City Council a real education. And it's because of your advocacy that you see the work that's being presented here today. You speak for thousands of youth in the foster care system that will be coming in and also that have aged out. And I just want to say, you know, I never entered even the building of City Hall until I was in my mid-30s. So you all are so far ahead in terms of being advocates and being on the ground. You've risen above all odds. And we certainly look forward to continuing to have your advocacy, but hopefully one day many of you will be able to see yourselves sitting in these same council seats, continuing to influence. And I just want to say I have one more term, so just wait until then. But we certainly look forward to your advocacy moving forward. Thank you so much for your work, and it's a blessing to have you here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good primary.
Public advocates up, too.
Thank you, Councilmember, for your refreshing honesty. We have some individuals who've signed up for public testimony. I'd like to call them all up. Please go up to the microphone to my left there. Amanda Hayden, Jessica Maxwell, Donald Fields, and Brianna Hayes.
Hi, my name is Amanda Hayden, and I serve as the Family Permanence Coordinator at the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Community Center. The center submitted testimony about some of the legislation contained in today's foster care package, and I would like to thank Mayor de Blasio and the City Council for passing Introductions 1191 and 1192. LGBTQ youth are disproportionately represented among the nearly 11,000 children in New York City's foster care system, according to the researchers, child advocates, city officials, and anecdotal evidence. Estimates suggest that 1 in 5 youth in foster care in New York City identify as LGBTQ. The demographic data collected by 1191 will help foster care professionals like myself better identify and ultimately help to overcome the specific barriers keeping these youth in the system. The creation of an interagency task force to address the problems children who age out of the system face, as laid out in 1192, will be a great next step. Section 1 designates that, quote, 2 youth who have aged out of the system in the previous 48 months be appointed by the mayor to this task force. I strongly recommend that at least one of these youth be LGBTQ. The issues youth in our community who have aged out of the system face are nuanced, and as we've seen at the center, it's incredibly impactful to have them speak to their experiences themselves. The center would be happy to serve as a resource in identifying these youth to participate. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, sorry. It's a little low for me. Yeah, let me just, there we go. My connection. Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much, Mayor de Blasio, Speaker Tish James, Councilmember Levin, Councilmember Cumbo, Councilmember Richards, and Councilmember Drum. We are so appreciative to be here today, about a year and a month after Foster Care Shadow Day, the first ever Foster Youth Shadow Day with the City Council. It was such an honor to partner with you on this project. I'm so pleased to be here with all of the youth advocates that participated in Shadow Day. The council members had the opportunity that day to learn about the experiences of foster youth while growing up in the system and aging out. And the young people, they had the opportunity to learn about what your role is and what you do. But most importantly, the youth advocates had the opportunity to share recommendations on how the council and the city could take up the cause to improve the city's foster care system. These recommendations were based on their personal experiences. The overarching message of that day and these recommendations were really aimed at ensuring the barriers that they faced would no longer be faced by youth of the future. 2 of the bills here that are really important to the young people that are being signed today really show those recommendations. The first one is the foster parent survey. These young people want to ensure that their experiences are echoed and the recommendations that they have are taken into account. The second bill, the foster care task force, is really important because young people need to have the opportunity to have an input on how the foster care system is run. We can no longer accept the poor outcomes that foster youth face when leaving the foster care system. We need to ensure that our youth have access to supports and services they need to live successfully on their own. We are very thankful to the City Council and the Mayor for really respecting their experiences and taking the path forward. We are fully supporting the bills that are being signed today, and we look forward to continuing to partner with you. And the young people, again, really thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Figuratively.
So I don't like to use the mic, so I'm going to project my voice. Greetings and salutations, Mayor Bill de Blasio, Public Advocate James, Cumbo, Richards, Levin, and Drum. First, I would like to say my name is Brianna Hayes. I'm a part of You Gotta Believe's Nobody Ages Out youth movement. And I want to say thank you, a genuine thank you on behalf of my colleagues that are in the audience and on behalf of You Gotta Believe. I want to say thank you for hearing our voices and listening to our stories. Even though we were aggressive, I remember us standing up and just kind of trying to dominate the conversation. But I want to say thank you for hearing our voices and making our voices matter. Because of you, youth are not going to age out to homelessness. The number of youth that age out to homelessness will change. Because of you, youth voices will be heard. Even though we speak, but they'll actually be heard. People listen, but they'll be heard. You know, I want to say thank you for being so genuine and wearing your hearts on your sleeves and fighting for a cause that is so passionate to me. I want to say just thank you for remembering our faces and our names. Like, just to hear our names be brought up, it feels good. It makes me want to advocate. This is one of the days where my job, it gets easier. It feels better. It feels like I want to do this more. I want to be better. I want to be here one day, like you said. I'll wait a year. And I just want to say how much is your pins? I know you have a big pin bill. And I just want to say genuinely thank you for caring. And thank you for just hearing our voices and letting us. And I want to say thank you to Donald for actually paving the way for there to be a shadow day. Like, you never know a feeling until you actually have it. And you guys created a motivational movement to implement change in the foster care system. So thank you again.
Say your name, Brianna.
I'd like to thank everybody that has been assembled here for this historic moment. I'd like to thank Lori Cumbo, Tish James, Donovan Richards, Mayor de Blasio, Stephen Levin, and Councilmember Drum. My motivation for trying to get a shadow day here in New York and most importantly in the city council is because I was able to be a part of a shadow day in DC. And so the many conglomeration of people that came together to share their testimonies, to share their stories, but beyond just sharing their stories, to share camaraderie with each other, to let us know that even though I might be in New York, you might be in Seattle, Washington, you might be in California, some of the issues still persist, even across state lines and across boundaries that separates us. So after leaving there, I wanted to make sure that when I got back to my state, that I was doing everything that I possibly could to make sure that young people that inherit this unfortunate system was in a better position than I was when I was in foster care. I was in foster care from 3 weeks old until I aged out at 21. I'm now 25. And I'm still advocating, I'm still working on behalf of those young people because it's important to let them know that not only are they valued and that they have tremendous talent and they have a tremendous possibility to do good, but that our government, our city elected officials care about them and care about their well-being as well. I just think that this is a great time to really be progressive in these bills and really tackle some of the issues and shortcomings that the system has had historically. And I'm hoping to continue to be in partnership with Stephen Levin and as well as council members to make sure that our foster care system is more responsive and better serves our youth. And then two, your point about sitting in that seat, I hope to be sitting in that seat after March. I am running for city council, and I hope to join you on the next legislative session. Thank you.
What's your address?
Why you know my name?
We will now sign all these pieces of legislation. Come on up. Mr. Levin, come on down. All right, you do it right this time. And then fire. Today I'm ready. All right, everyone ready? Here we go. Here we go.
Look forward. Hello, Mr. Mayor.
Hello there.
Here we go. Hey, so we gonna take a picture of her and the mayor. Everybody?
You have to kiss me.
Is she pooping? No.
Maybe I gotta take the pen. We can pretend she's taking the pen. Give it a pen.
Exactly.
There in the middle. Go. Okay. Got a second. Okay. For you. Hold on with that.
I'm gonna be here one day I'm taking over. Disappointed Hillary, but you're not gonna disappoint me.
You're projecting. Okay, another Steve Levin. Go. You get another handshake. Every time you come up with a valuable piece of legislation.
Got my endorsement.
Want to report on the status of playgrounds in your district?
Oh, wow.
What about schools?
Air conditioner in the bus.
Yeah, another one.
Now.
You're a grown-up.
How was that universal?
Universal.
Okay, going.
Universal infant care, which is my name.
We want infant care, Mr. Mayor, infant care.
This baby is significantly more dignified than Tish James.
I want to be like this James, the troublemaker.
Okay, Donovan, step to the right, please.
All right, Tiana, you stay here. You stay here.
Five.
Yeah, there you go. You're in college already.
Well, he's smarter than us. Yeah. Okay, Tiana, I'm gonna give you the first one. Right, and you, okay? Congratulations. Donovan,
Thank you.
do this, Don. You don't have to stand up. Stand up. Okay, it's working.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
All right, got it. I'm over here. Last week.
Well-behaved women never make history.
Pass to you again. Donovan, okay, there you go. Excellent.
Jordan, Camille. Oh, we got one.
Mr. Drum, step forward. Congratulations. Well done. Are we doing 4? What are we doing here?
What are you eating?
You know, baby.
Okay.
I have an 11-month. He's just about walking. He's like trying to.
Is Kumbo.
Lori. Anna, come with me, Anna. Hey, Lori. Hey, Lori.
I must have that baby smell. Probably like smell.
Sit on this side.
Something.
Get me in the middle. Come. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I've got my sisters behind me.
All right. Here, who's got it?
Right here.
All right.
Right here. That's for you.
Embrace the moment.
We get our photo taken, you just
Last
hold
one.
it, you hold the shake a little longer than normal. Don't let it go. And then Anna to your right.
Am I right? Anna? Pleasure. Congratulations. Okay, and public advocate, come back.
Yes, we're here. Me and baby.
Just raise your hand if you still need a pen.
This baby is now considered a freelancer working for you. 5.
There we go. Okay, I can't.
You're here.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'm with the mayor.
This is the
Go.
shot. Where's mommy? Mommy?
So let's get the shot here. There. Ed, you got it? Excellent. Well done.
That's it.
Thank you.
That's all the mommy and Tish wants
Jason, he went out. He went out. You want to take that? Yeah. Okay. Everybody has it. Yeah, the lady come take it. The lady.
Last call. One. These bills are all now law. Okay. All right, everyone, here we go. Jonathan, want to get... Okay. Our last bill Intro 1242, establishes the Greater JFK Business Improvement District. Sponsor is Councilmember Jalissa Ferreras-Copeland. The Greater JFK bid will be located in Springfield Gardens, an area next to JFK International Airport that includes both commercial and industrial space. The bid will support the community by investing in services like security and sanitation and advocating for infrastructure upgrades and workforce development. When we lift up our local businesses, we lift up our economy and our entire city. I want to thank Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito, EDC President Maria Torres Springer, and Councilmember Jalissa Ferreras-Copeland, the Chair of the Committee on Finance. Now I'd like to introduce our Small Business Services Commissioner, Greg Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At SBS, we are working hard to open doors for New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs, focusing on creating stronger businesses, connecting New Yorkers to good jobs, and fostering thriving neighborhoods. Today, I'm thrilled to celebrate the creation of our newest partner, the Greater JFK Business Improvement District. This is the 4th bid formed under this administration, bringing the city's total to 73. While the vast majority of our bids focus on improving retail areas of the city, this bid will focus on businesses and residents in the industrial sector of Springfield Gardens, directly adjacent to JFK Airport. JFK is a major contributor to the city's economy, and the businesses in this area play a vital role to the airport's ecosystem. The proposed bid boundaries include over 600 businesses providing logistical support, the millions of tons of goods that flow through JFK. These freight forwarders, custom brokers, logistical service providers, and trucking companies coexist with hotels, government facilities, and over 150 single-family homes in an area of the city that has been historically underserved. We believe a bid in this neighborhood will be a strong advocate for infrastructure improvements, quality of life improvements, more effective collaboration across the air cargo industry, and improved connections to SBS existing workforce development services. And it's important to note that bid formations are a collaborative effort. They require the support of local business owners, property owners, and elected officials. Bids have a deep connection to our city's neighborhoods and businesses, and I look forward to working with our newest partners. I want to recognize the Bid Planning Committee and personally thank the 3 co-chairs, Kim Lawton, Frank Leggio, and also Sadia Mohammed for the dedication to their effort and to this community. I also want to personally thank Barbara Cohen, the planning consultant for this effort, for her tireless work and advocacy over the many years. I also would like to recognize Councilmember Donovan Richards and Councilmember Ruben Wills for their involvement in this effort, as well as Borough President Melinda Katz. And I'd also like to thank EDC President Maria Torres Springer and her team's work in supporting this effort. Finally, I want to thank the SBS team, the bid program staff led by Deputy Commissioner Blaise Backer, and I also want to thank them for their hard work, including Chris Goddard, Jennifer Kitson, and Michael Mohammed.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Councilmember Donovan Richards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and it's an honor to finally reach this day, 3 years in the making. We've been working locally with business owners and residents to form the Greater JFK Business Improvement District, and I think as the Commissioner said, you know, this area has around 600 business owners that provide support and products and goods that flow from and through JFK. And these particular businesses employ nearly 8,000 people, which is major in Southeast Queens. This bid will build upon the area's diversity and major economic significance by serving as an advocate and providing supplemental services and improvements that support a vision for a strong industrial base and improve quality of life for all who live, work, or visit this district. The key issues the bid aims to address, and for the residents who sort of lived in this neighborhood before I was born, flooding, major issue in this particular part of Springfield Gardens. And I'm happy to say and thank the mayor for his $1.5 billion commitment to Southeast Queens, and we'll be seeing movement actually on a capital project next year in this particular community. So we're already moving in the right direction. But then there's also been the issues we hear day in and day out about trucks coming through the neighborhood, and for Spring Jam Block Association in particular, who I remember this story, they went out, they are very involved and engaged in their community, and they planted a new flower bed in their neighborhood, and a truck literally came over and just rolled right over it. And although it was flowers, it was bigger than just about flowers. It was about a community who's really trying to improve their community significantly, and they're putting in, and then sort of their heart is snatched right out after all of the hard work they did. Traffic issues, the need for repaving, all of these issues that have long plagued this community now are finally starting to get addressed thanks to this administration's commitment. And this is really truly about, the bid is truly about helping our local community and in particular business owners connect better. We have to coexist all together. We all have to live together, something my wife reminds me of daily when she has a deal with me. We have to live together. But the point is, that's a joke, by the way. She loves me dearly. But we're going to do something differently here, and I think the bid signifies we're finally going to communicate with each other. And I think it's major to really have agencies at the table, to have our businesses at the table, to have our local residents at the table, because when that recipe is all mixed up together and put into that bowl, or whatever bowl you want to call it, your mom's favorite bowl, you know, you really start to see progress. We will see progress in the community that's long deserved it. There's a few people I'd like to really thank today. Commissioner Bishop, thank you for your outstanding commitment. You have been relentless and been a great asset to Southeast Queens and the Rockaways in particular, and I have to give hats off to your staff who's really worked really well with us to really reach this day. I would like to also thank our community partners who are the most important people in the room today, outside of the mayor. That's a joke. They're more important than you. They pay your salary, they pay my salary,
That's
right? So the Spring Jam Block Association, Kim Lawton, thank you. These are the people who do the work day in and day out. Joyce Denny, UNCA, United Neighborhood Civic Association of Jamaica, both community boards 12 and 13. I want to acknowledge Mark McMillan and also thank Brian Block for this day. Saeed Mohammed, my staff, my chief of staff, Mercedes Buchanan, my legislative director, Jordan Gibbons, Camille Bekaric, and all of the other partners, and in particular you, Mayor, for really helping us reach this day. Barbara Cohen, thank you for all the work you've done to really get us here as well. And am I missing anyone? No, I don't think. And Maria Torres Spring, of course, the EDC, thank you so much. And Frank, of course, who's been great and really been able to help the business owners pull together to make this day happen. So thank you so much. Thank you all. Ready to sign this into law. Let's get it going.
Thank you, Councilman. All right, we have 2 people signed up for public testimony. I'd like to call forward Kim Lawton and Joyce Denny.
Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone. My name's Kim Lawton, and I'm the president of Spring Jam Block Association. I'm also a co-chair. I'm not going to reiterate everything that's been said because it's been said, but I will say that this is a landmark opportunity. This is something that I'm so happy about, and I thank everyone in the room, especially you, Mayor, and Councilman Richards and Barbara, and all of the organizations for coming together. This bid allows not only the commercial residents and the city agencies to come together, but it allows the community residents to have a voice. And initially I was going to say you saved the best bill for last. But, you know, working with children for many years, especially foster care, and listening to all the bills that just came to fruition, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, Mayor, because what you've done is you've empowered the people. You talk the talk and you walk the walk. And you've allowed us to be a part of our journey. And I think especially today with everything occurring in the world, New York is going to be in the forefront. So I won't reiterate my long statement that I gave to the press. I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you, Barbara, Frank, and everyone, because this is definitely a landmark opportunity. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Joyce Denny, and I'm the president of United Neighbors Civic Association. Spring Jam is the border to UNCA, and we've. So far, I must say thank you to Kim. She and everybody started long before I did, before we got included, but we are happy to be included because for all the years, as a matter of fact, where I lived there for 32 years, and we have had so many problems with trucking, and right now the roads are a disaster. We've had so many things going on, and from time to time, I always felt that that nothing is coming to help us, there would be no recourse. So in saying that, I would like to thank Mayor de Blasio, Councilman Richards, Barbara, Frank, and all the people that worked tirelessly together to pull this together so that we can have some hope in Southeast Queens. Because I always felt like Southeast Queens was a forgotten place. And thank you all for allowing us to have a voice and allowing us to be able to be happy in our homes and in our community. And I'm trusting you, Mayor de Blasio, and thanking you for all that you're doing for our communities. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you both. Thank you. Before I sign the bill and the statement regarding the bid establishment, just want to summarize very briefly all of the legislation that we worked on today in Spanish. Estoy firmando 12 leyes para mejorar la protección laboral de los trabajadores independientes, ofrecer más ayuda a personas que puedan votar, ayudar a los jóvenes en cuidado de crianza temporal, aclarar cuántos agentes de policía pueden ofrecer asistencia médica urgente y apoyar a los comercios locales cerca del aeropuerto JFK. Estas leyes continúan nuestra labor para una ciudad más fuerte, más justa y más transparente. With that, let's now sign the bill and the statement.
Come on.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Does anyone still need a pen?
Everybody good?
One left. You need one or you need more?
Okay, so
One more.
One
Oh,
more.
one more.
One more only?
And then, yep, one more and then the
The statement.
our notary here,
We have a notary.
Mr. Henry Berger.
He is watching.
Oh,
watching
Henry's very
carefully. Two signatures. I'm just going to sign, correct?
Can you identify yourself, please?
My name is Henry Berger. This bill is now law.
Now,